In this video, I want to show you some cards that I thought about adding to a Captain Howler Sea Scourge deck in Commander if I was going to build one. For 2 mana, a blue and a red, it's a 5/4 legendary creature Shark Pirate with Ward 2 mana and pay 2 life. Whenever you discard one or more cards, target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn for each card discarded this way. Whenever that creature does combat damage to a player this turn, you draw a card. There's a lot of directions you can go with this commander. You could just build off of getting value off of discarding and drawing. You could put some cycling cards in the deck. You're going to want to have evasion like Trample, which is difficult in this color pair, or flying. And you're going to want to reward yourself for drawing cards. One card that I would definitely add that I think really works well in this deck is a Ghostly Pilferer. For blue and a 1, it's a creature spirit rogue 2/1. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card, such as casting their commander or a spell from exile. Discard a card. It can't be blocked this turn. So, the last bottom ability is really strong with this commander shark. Whenever you discard a card, you can give this thing +2/+0 and draw a card, and it can be blocked. So it's going to be a 4/1 each time it attacks, and you get to draw a card after you discard the card. And if you have any value off of drawing to discarding, you're just going to create a really nice cycle. Another card that I would definitely add is a Glinthorn Buccaneer for 1 red creature, Minotaur Pirates, 2/4 haste. Whenever you discard a card, it deals 1 damage to each opponent, not target opponent, each opponent, which is very good. Red 1, discard a card, draw a card, activate this ability only if it's attacking. So when it's attacking, you can pay 2, discard a card, which triggers your commander to draw a new card. This thing can become a 4/4, and it draws a card whenever it connects. That's really good, and that's going to generate a good amount of value over the game and slowly pin down your opponents. And with all of your other opponents attacking each other as well, this is just going to reduce the life total around the table. If this gets 5 pings in, that's 15 damage removed from the table. That's pretty good. 2 cards that are in the same vein are Wonder and Anger. As long as Wonder is in your graveyard and you control an island, creatures you control have flying. As long as Anger is in your graveyard and you control a mountain, creatures you control have haste. These are cards you can discard to your discard outlets and not lose any value. You're only playing 2 colors. You're going to be playing some basic islands and some basic mountains, and this doesn't care if they're even a basic island or a basic mountain. So your Shockland can trigger both of these. And as long as in your graveyard, it's very easy to accomplish. And it gives all of your creatures flying, which is good evasion. So if you've targeted them with your commander this turn, they're probably going to draw a card because your creatures have flying and your opponents will have to have creatures with flying or reach to deal with them. And then Anger being in your graveyard gives all your creatures haste. Any tapping creatures you have or just a creature immediately coming into play and slamming into your opponents. And it's not going to be easily removable unless they have exiling removal from your graveyard. And they're both pretty good, I think. Key to the City is a good artifact for the deck. For 2 mana, it's tap and discard a card. Up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. Whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. It makes the creature unblockable just like Ghostly Pilferer does to itself. And whenever it becomes untapped, you may pay 2 if you do draw a card. Not all of the discard effects in your deck are going to immediately draw you back a card like they cycle. And this is a way to make sure your hand always has cards coming into it. Plus, you're playing blue and red, you might have other ways to untap artifacts, and you can take advantage of this and make more card draws. And this is really good in the deck because it makes something unblockable. Frantic Search is a fun instant that I would add. Draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands. If you have something that reduces the cost of your spells, then this can even put you up on mana. It draws you 2 cards, and you can choose. It's not discard first, so you can discard those 2 cards if you want everything else in your hand. Triggers your commander twice, and it can target 2 different creatures, and that can draw you even more cards. Another instant in that same vein is Prismari Command. It's a modal spell, deals 2 damage to any target. Target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards. Target creature creates a treasure token. Destroy target artifact. You're going to choose the second mode most of the time, but you can also make it a quick 2 mana spell and give yourself a treasure. You can deal 2 damage to any target, such as a weak little commander, or you can just get rid of a quick Iron Mirror, something that's gaining them some mana, or you can destroy target artifacts and get rid of their combo piece or whatever else you need to do with this instant. The Locust God is a legendary creature god for 6 mana. It's a 4/4 with flying, so it has a little bit of evasion with our commander. Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue-red insect creature token with flying and haste. This thing can immediately attack, and if you give it the ability with the Howler, then this would have a little bit of evasion. For 4 mana, 2 blue and a red, you can draw a card, then discard a card, which can trigger our commander again. And when it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it never really truly stays dead, and it can kind of soak up some removal, but you can use it to block and then return it to your hand. And that does go into effect on everyone's end step, not just your end step. So if it dies whenever one of your opponents attack you and you use it as a blocker, it'll go back at your hand and you can cast it again the very next turn. It's not like those cards where you have to wait a turn cycle, get it back into your hand, and give away a turn cycle, now you can cast it again. Curator of Mysteries is another card that rewards you for discarding to let you scry one, and it has cycling. So early on in the game, you can cycle it, try to get yourself a land if you need one, or you can just trigger all of your effects. It's also a 4-mana 4/4 with flying, so it has a little bit of evasion. If you target your commander onto this, it will probably get in if you attack the player without a fly and a reach creature, and you can kind of generate some value off discarding, scrying, and then drawing. Another card that rewards you for drawing is Niv-Mizzet. For blue, 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 red, 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 5/5, it can't be countered and it has flying. It has a steep and aggressive mana cost that's very restrictive, but it's a legendary creature, dragon, wizard. Whenever you draw a card, it deals 1 damage to any targets. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, you draw a card. That's any player. It counts you and all of your frantic search effects, but also counts your opponents who try to destroy things over the course of the game or ramp. And if you give this thing Death Touch with an equipment, it deals 1 damage to any target. You can just start getting rid of your opponent's 6/6 rhinos who are coming at you. But without the Death Touch even, it can do 1 damage to any target and start peeling off your opponent's Elvish Mystics or anything else they're using as little tiny creatures that generate some ramp. It's just a good card. It has flying also, so it has some evasion that offers your deck and just rewards you for doing the thing your commander wants to do every single time that one of your creatures connect after you giving your commander's ability to it. It deals 1 damage, and if 3 of those creatures attack, you can deal 3 damage to something and just get some stuff off the board. An artifact that's really good in this deck is Currency Converter for 1 color and artifacts. Whenever you discard a card, you may exile that card from your graveyard. You may. 2 tap, draw a card, discard a card. Does a cycle. Tap, put a card exiled with it into your graveyard. If it's a land card, create a treasure token. If it's a non-land card, create a 2/2 black rogue creature token. This being a May ability is very strong for this card, but you can use it every single turn to make yourself a treasure token or a 2/2 black rogue, because it's anytime you discard a card and your deck's going to be doing that. So it's a 1 mana spell that can make you a treasure every turn, or it's a 1 mana spell that every turn you can create a 2/2 black rogue creature token. Again, if you're already playing in red and blue, you're going to have ways to even untap artifacts or untap permanents in blue. And this can give you a lot of value off of just ramping you throughout the game. It being 1 mana like Solar Rain is pretty good. Another artifact that I think is really good in the deck is Hazard's Monument. For 3 colorless, it's a legendary artifact. Red creature spells you cast cost 1 less cast. And whenever you cast a creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Doesn't lower the number of cards in your hands. You can discard and draw. It's a pseudo mana rock that also synergizes with your deck, which at 3 mana is what you want your mana rocks to be doing at 3 mana. An enchantment that I would add is Omnious Seas. For 2 mana, whenever you draw a card, you can put a Foreshadow counter on it, remove 8 of those counters to make an 8/8 blue Kraken creature token, and it has cycling. So if you don't care about getting this enchantment to play quickly, you can just cycle it away, kind of get yourself a land, or trigger all of your stuff. But it also rewards you for all of the discarding and drawing you're going to be doing by giving you big 8/8s. And if you have your Wander in your graveyard, and that's one of the cards you discarded to draw into, this thing's going to have 8/8 blue Kraken creature tokens coming out, and that's going to be pretty strong. A Planeswalker that I would add is Dak Faden. For 3 mana, 3 loyalty, +1, target player draws 2 cards and discards 2 cards. You can gain control of target artifact, or you can get an emblem with whenever you cast a spell that targets 1 or more permanents, gain control of those permanents. First ability is the main one you're going to be looking to use in your deck. It's going to give you 2 activations of your commander, which is pretty good. You can gain control of an annoying artifact or something that's stopping your stuff from untapping or something that's stopping you from attacking. Your deck's going to want to be attacking. The -6 doesn't do you a lot of good in this deck, but maybe something can come up that you can use it usefully for. Taking advantage of our mana base, Gear Reach Sanitarium is a legendary land that adds colorless. 2 tap, each player draws a card, then discards a card. It gives all of your opponents the benefit of getting to 1 cycle, but it triggers yourself, which at some parts of the game is going to be really, really worth it. Plus, if you lean into a deck that lets everyone draw and keep discarding, if you have cards that stop your opponents from being able to draw more than one card each turn, this can be a good thing to include in those kinds of decks. Another land that I would definitely add is Desolate Lighthouse. It adds a colorless, but it triggers just for yourself, 3 mana, tap, draw a card, then discard a card. There's a lot of value in having lands in your deck that reward your commander, and this is a good way. These two are good ways to do that without losing too much energy. Obviously, you're not getting colored mana off of them, and that's going to hurt you if you have like a Niv-Mizzet in your deck. But other than that, it's going to be pretty good. Leave me your thoughts on this deck in the comments below.